A controversial White House statement has ignited fresh tensions between the United States and Mexico. On February 3rd, President Donald Trump released a presidential message celebrating what he called America's legendary victory in the Mexican-American War, a conflict that resulted in Mexico losing 55% of its territory 178 years ago. The response from Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum, defiant and unequivocal. The statement, released on the anniversary of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, described the U.S. victory in remarkably triumphant terms. Trump's message praised what he called superior military strategy and the heroic capture of Mexico City in September 1847. The statement went further, claiming that the victory secured the American Southwest, reasserted American sovereignty, and expanded the promise of American independence across our majestic continent. But the message wasn't just historical reflection. Trump directly connected the 19th century conflict to his current policies, stating he's been guided by our victory on the fields of Mexico 178 years ago. He framed his administration's border enforcement and anti-cartel operations as defending against what he termed an invasion along the southern border. Notably, this type of presidential statement is unusual. U.S. correspondents for major Mexican outlets pointed out that the White House has not traditionally issued commemorative messages about the Mexican-American War. The Mexican-American War, fought between 1846 and 1848, remains a historical sore spot for Mexico. The conflict ended with the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which forced Mexico to cede territories that would become California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, and parts of Colorado, Wyoming, Kansas, and Oklahoma. The war is widely viewed by historians as an example of U.S. imperialism driven by the ideology of manifest destiny. Trump's message makes no mention of slavery's central role in the conflict, nor does it acknowledge the displacement of hundreds of thousands of Native Americans that resulted from westward expansion. At Stanford history professor Albert Camarillo told the Associated Press, the statement represents a distorted, ahistorical, imperialist version of events. One, he said, whitewashes generations of historical scholarship. President Sheinbaum's response was measured but firm. When asked about Trump's message at her morning press conference, she laughed and said simply, "You already know what my opinion is. We're not Santa Anna. We always have to defend sovereignty." The reference to Antonio López de Santa Anna, the 19th century Mexican president widely blamed for Mexico's territorial losses, carried significant weight. Sheinbaum was drawing a clear line. Her administration will not repeat the mistakes of the past. Former Mexican ambassador to the United States, Arturo Sarucán, was less diplomatic. He called Trump's statement an in-your-face provocation, adding that, "Never in the recent annals of Mexico-U.S. relations had we seen anything like this." Political analyst Denise Dresser warned that the message reveals how Trump continues to view Mexico, not as a partner, but as territory to be conquered. She urged Mexicans across the political spectrum to remember this perspective, regardless of any occasional diplomatic pleasantries. This message didn't emerge in a vacuum. It follows months of increasingly assertive U.S. posturing toward Latin America under Trump's second term. Last month, Trump asserted the U.S. would begin hitting cartels on land in Mexico. 6 Mexican cartels have been designated as foreign terrorist organizations by the U.S. government. Trump has repeatedly offered to send U.S. military forces into Mexican territory. Offers Sheinbaum has consistently declined. The White House message also referenced what Trump calls the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine, signaling an aggressive reassertion of U.S. influence throughout the Western Hemisphere. The administration has already demonstrated this willingness to act boldly with the recent military operation in Venezuela that resulted in the capture of Nicolas Maduro. Arizona State University professor Alexander Avina notes that the Trump administration is embracing this as a positive in U.S. history, rather than acknowledging it as an ugly aspect of American imperialism. The message, he argues, seeks to justify an America First policy that extends U.S. dominance throughout the Americas. The statement represents what Rice University expert Tony Payan calls rubbing Mexico's nose in what is essentially a very deep wound in Mexico's history. Meanwhile, Mexico, Avina said, has done nothing but cooperate with U.S. interests on all levels. The question now is whether this rhetoric will translate into action, and how Mexico will navigate the increasingly complex relationship with its northern neighbor. Sheinbaum has made clear her government will never accept intervention that violates Mexican sovereignty, but she faces a U.S. administration that appears willing to test those boundaries. The controversy also highlights a fundamental tension in how the two nations view their shared history and future. While cooperation on trade, security, and migration remains essential for both countries, Trump's message suggests the U.S. sees the relationship through a very different lens, one rooted in conquest and dominance rather than partnership. As Mexico navigates a turbulent period in bilateral relations, Sheinbaum's invocation that "we're not Santa Anna" serves as both a promise to her citizens and a warning to Washington. History will not repeat itself. The long-term implications of Trump's message remain to be seen. What's clear is that it has touched a nerve in Mexico and raised fundamental questions about the future of U.S.-Mexico relations. What do you think is the goal of Trump's inflammatory rhetoric? Was Sheinbaum's response the best move for Mexico? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this analysis helpful, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Mexico News Daily for more in-depth coverage of Mexican international affairs. Thanks for watching.